She had always been a quiet, strong woman, the kind who carried her life with dignity even when things fell apart. Her marriage had been long, filled with moments of happiness. But in the end, it became a place of tension, silent battles, and unspoken resentments. She tried for years to make it work, to find compromise, to hold onto the dreams they once shared. But as time passed, it became clear that their paths were no longer aligned. The love that had once bound them had transformed into a quiet distance that neither could cross. She realized that staying in a marriage that no longer nurtured her spirit was not a sign of weakness, but a betrayal to her own life. Divorce was never an easy topic, especially in her circle. People whispered behind her back, speculating about who would gain what, and how the settlement would unfold. Many expected her to fight for everything she could get: property, money, luxury, because that was the natural assumption in a world where divorce often became a battle of wealth. But she was different. She had spent years learning to trust herself and to understand her own value beyond material things. She knew that taking everything would not bring her peace. It would only tie her further to a life that had lost meaning for her. So she made a choice that shocked everyone around her. She would take nothing. When she announced her decision, friends and family were stunned. Some admired her courage silently, while others questioned her reasoning openly. They asked if she was sure, if she had considered the consequences, if she understood how unconventional it was. She simply smiled, a calm, confident smile, and said nothing more. Her mind was made up. She had found freedom in the idea of walking away on her own terms, without claiming a single thing that was not hers to keep in the first place. She did not need to prove anything to anyone, not even to the man she had once called her partner. The days leading up to the divorce were filled with quiet moments of reflection. She spent time alone, walking through familiar streets, revisiting places that held memories of joy and sorrow alike. Each step reminded her of the life she had lived and the choices she had made. She thought about the future, about who she wanted to become, and about the life she wanted to build for herself. There was no bitterness in her reflections, only clarity. She understood that life was not about possessions or money. It was about living authentically, embracing challenges, and finding the strength to rise after falling. Her ex-husband, on the other hand, struggled to understand her decision. He had always assumed that power and wealth were the ultimate markers of success. To him, walking away with nothing seemed illogical, almost reckless. He could not comprehend why someone would willingly forfeit financial security when it was so readily offered. In his eyes, she was making a mistake, a choice that would limit her future. Yet he also noticed something he could not explain: a quiet strength in her gaze, an unshakable resolve that even he could not undermine. She was not defeated. She was liberated, and that liberation made her more powerful than he had ever anticipated. In the weeks following the divorce, she began to reclaim her life piece by piece. She found a small apartment that reflected her tastes and her sense of independence. It was not grand, nor did it need to be. It was a space where she could breathe freely, where every corner reminded her of her personal journey and the life she was creating for herself. She filled it with simple joys, books, art, a few cherished mementos, and she felt a sense of contentment that she had not known in years. The world outside could speculate all it wanted, but inside her apartment, she found a sanctuary where she could be fully herself. Her work became her anchor. She threw herself into her career, taking on projects that challenged her and allowed her to grow. She met new people who respected her for her ideas, her dedication, and her integrity. Slowly, the whispers of her past life faded, replaced by genuine admiration for the woman she had become. Each success, no matter how small, reinforced her belief that independence was not only empowering but also necessary for her happiness. She did not need validation from her ex-husband or anyone else. She needed only to honor her own journey. Evenings were her time for reflection and quiet celebration of the life she was building. She would sit by the window, looking out at the city lights, thinking about how far she had come. She remembered the moments of doubt, the nights filled with uncertainty, and she felt a deep sense of gratitude for having chosen herself. Her heart no longer carried the weight of expectation or compromise. She had freed herself from the chains of obligation and had stepped into a life defined not by what she could take from others, but by what she could create on her own. Friends began to notice a change in her demeanor. She moved with a sense of purpose, spoke with confidence, and carried herself with an elegance that came not from wealth, but from self-respect. People who had doubted her decision now watched with curiosity and, in some cases, admiration. They saw that she was not bitter, not vengeful, and not desperate. She was simply thriving in her own way, and that quiet triumph spoke louder than any possession could. Despite her calm exterior, there were moments of vulnerability. She missed the companionship that marriage had once offered. She missed having someone to share the little things with, the morning coffee, the laughter, the shared dreams. But she learned to honor those feelings without letting them define her. She discovered that solitude could be a source of strength, a chance to understand herself more deeply, and to cultivate a sense of fulfillment that was entirely her own. In these moments, she realized that happiness was not about filling a void with someone else. It was about embracing the fullness of her own life. Her decision to walk away with nothing also sent ripples through her ex-husband's world. Colleagues, friends, and even family members speculated about her motives. Some thought she had made a mistake, while others wondered if she was secretly planning something. The truth, however, was simple. She was not plotting revenge, nor was she seeking attention. She was simply living her life on her own terms, and that alone was enough to unsettle those who had expected her to conform to their assumptions. The media, ever hungry for drama, began to catch wind of her story. Headlines suggested scandal, loss, and upheaval. They assumed she must be struggling financially or emotionally, that walking away with nothing was a sign of defeat. But anyone who actually knew her could see the truth. She was at peace. Her choice was not about proving a point to the world. It was about reclaiming her life from a situation that no longer served her. The contrast between public perception and her private reality only reinforced her belief that true strength often goes unnoticed by those looking for spectacle. As she continued to move forward, she began to explore opportunities that had once seemed out of reach. She traveled to new cities, attended events that sparked her curiosity, and met people who inspired her to think differently. Each experience added to her sense of independence and expanded her understanding of what was possible. She was no longer confined by the expectations of her past life. She was free to define her future on her own terms. This freedom was exhilarating, and it fueled her determination to live fully and authentically. Her ex-husband, despite his initial disbelief, could not ignore the transformation. He saw her confidence, her composure, and the respect she commanded without ever seeking it. There was no bitterness, no need for confrontation, only a quiet assertion of self that made him reconsider his assumptions about her. He began to realize that wealth and status were not the only measures of success. Resilience, dignity, and self-respect carried their own power, one that could not be bought or taken away. Friends who had supported her throughout the divorce marveled at her growth. They admired her ability to choose herself without resentment, to prioritize her own well-being without alienating others. She became a subtle role model for those around her, demonstrating that strength often comes from making choices that align with one's values rather than society's expectations. Her life, though simple in some ways, was rich in purpose and self-determination. Even as she built her new life, she never lost sight of the lessons from her past. She carried with her a deep understanding of human relationships, the complexities of love, and the importance of boundaries. These insights guided her interactions, ensuring that she approached new connections with wisdom and discernment. She was open to new possibilities, but she no longer compromised her sense of self for the sake of others. In this balance, she found a profound sense of peace. The divorce, once a source of fear and uncertainty, became a turning point, a catalyst for growth, self-discovery, and empowerment. She had walked away with nothing, yet she had gained everything that truly mattered: freedom, clarity, and a life she could call her own. Her story was not one of loss, but of triumph, a quiet testament to the power of choosing oneself even when the world expects otherwise. As the first part of her journey closed, she looked ahead with anticipation rather than trepidation. The future was uncertain, but it was hers to shape. Every choice she made, every step she took, was a declaration of independence and self-worth. She had proven to herself that happiness was not measured by what one could take from another, but by what one could create through courage, resilience, and unwavering self-belief. And with that realization, she stepped forward into the next chapter of her life, ready for whatever lay ahead. After the divorce, she found herself in a new world, one she had to navigate alone. At first, it was strange to make every decision for herself, without consulting anyone else. Simple things like what to eat, where to go, and how to spend her evenings became choices she faced with both excitement and caution. She felt the weight of her freedom, but she also relished it. For the first time in years, she could follow her own instincts without compromise, and that sense of autonomy was both liberating and empowering. Her days became filled with exploration. She visited art galleries she had once only passed by, attended small concerts, and wandered through neighborhoods she had never taken the time to explore. Each outing reminded her that the world was bigger than the life she had left behind, and that there were endless possibilities waiting for her. She began to write down her thoughts and ideas, capturing her reflections, dreams, and the lessons she had learned. These notes became a private journal of her journey, a record of growth that she treasured deeply. She also returned to work with renewed energy. She took on projects that challenged her creatively and intellectually, refusing to settle for tasks that were safe or predictable. Her colleagues noticed the change in her demeanor. She spoke with confidence and clarity, offered insights that were both practical and innovative, and approached problems with a calm, thoughtful manner. Slowly, her reputation grew, not because of connections or her past life, but because of her skill, dedication, and integrity. She realized that success could be measured in personal growth and meaningful achievements, not just titles or wealth. Financial independence became both a goal and a symbol of her new life. She managed her money carefully, learning to invest wisely and live within her means without feeling deprived. She did not need to display wealth or status. Her satisfaction came from knowing that she could support herself fully and make choices freely. Friends noticed the balance she maintained between comfort and simplicity, and many began to admire her ability to thrive without relying on others. Her life was not extravagant, but it was rich in experiences and self-respect. During this period, she also reconnected with old friends and built new relationships. She surrounded herself with people who were supportive, kind, and genuine, avoiding those who thrived on drama or gossip. These friendships became her foundation, a source of encouragement and perspective. She found that sharing experiences and listening to others allowed her to grow even more, understanding different viewpoints while staying true to her own values. It became clear that she could be independent without being isolated. She could rely on herself while still enjoying meaningful connections. Travel became another form of freedom. She visited cities and towns she had only dreamed of, immersing herself in different cultures and lifestyles. She wandered through busy streets, quiet parks, and historical landmarks, absorbing the energy and stories of each place. Travel was not about luxury or showing off. It was about learning, experiencing, and reminding herself that life was full of wonders. Each journey strengthened her confidence and reinforced her belief that she could create joy and meaning on her own. She also explored her passions, things she had set aside during her marriage. Music, art, writing, and learning became daily rituals, small but significant ways of expressing herself. She took classes, attended workshops, and experimented with new techniques, allowing creativity to flourish in her life. These activities were not for anyone else's approval. They were for her own fulfillment, a way to reconnect with her inner self. Each accomplishment, however minor, became a testament to her resilience and determination. Her evenings often became quiet moments of reflection. Sitting with a cup of tea or coffee, she would think about her day, her achievements, and the challenges she had overcome. She reflected on her growth, the confidence she had gained, and the independence she had nurtured. There was no need for external validation. She measured success by her ability to live authentically and embrace each moment fully. She discovered that peace and happiness were not dependent on circumstances but on the mindset she cultivated and the choices she made. Despite her focus on growth, she occasionally felt the pangs of loneliness. There were nights when she missed companionship, the comfort of shared experiences, and the simple joy of having someone by her side. She allowed herself to feel these emotions without letting them dominate her life. Instead of seeking someone to fill a void, she learned to embrace solitude as a source of strength. She found joy in her own company, in knowing that she could enjoy life fully without depending on another person. This independence became her most powerful asset. As she grew more confident, she began attending events that put her in new social circles. She met business leaders, artists, and people from various walks of life. Her presence was understated but noticeable. She did not seek attention, yet she exuded a quiet confidence that drew people in. Conversations flowed easily, and she discovered that her insights and experiences were valued. She realized that respect and recognition were earned through integrity, not through wealth or past associations. Through these experiences, she also began to notice the subtle changes in how people perceived her. Those who had once doubted her resilience were now impressed by her composure and self-assurance. People whispered about her independence and her ability to thrive without relying on her ex-husband's resources. She did not need to prove anything. Her actions spoke louder than words. Each day she moved further away from the shadow of her past, creating a life that was distinctly her own. As she continued building her life, she remained mindful of her values. She avoided situations that compromised her integrity and stayed true to the principles that guided her. This steadfastness attracted like-minded individuals who respected her for who she was rather than what she had once had. She found that surrounding herself with the right people reinforced her growth and gave her a sense of belonging without diminishing her independence. Her personal style also evolved during this period. She dressed in ways that reflected her confidence and taste rather than following trends or seeking approval. Her elegance was subtle, understated, yet unmistakable. She learned that presentation was not about impressing others but about expressing oneself authentically. Each choice, from her wardrobe to her surroundings, became an extension of her identity, reinforcing the independence she had fought to claim. Friends began to notice the spark in her eyes, the subtle change in how she carried herself, and the calm determination that now defined her. They marveled at her ability to turn what could have been a devastating experience into a journey of growth and empowerment. Her story became a quiet inspiration, a reminder that strength is often found in unexpected choices, and that true resilience is cultivated in the way one navigates life's challenges. As months passed, she also started thinking about larger goals. She considered expanding her career, exploring new ventures, and making an impact beyond her immediate circle. She realized that independence was not just about surviving but about thriving and contributing meaningfully. She began planning for the future with ambition tempered by wisdom, balancing the desire for achievement with the lessons she had learned about patience, resilience, and authenticity. During this time, she also became aware of events in her ex-husband's life. She heard about his upcoming company Gala, a high-profile event that promised glamour, networking, and recognition. While some might have avoided any connection with their past, she felt no bitterness or need for confrontation. Instead, a quiet curiosity arose within her, a desire to attend not to compete or show off, but to demonstrate in her own subtle way that she had moved forward with grace and independence. The idea of attending the gala became a symbol of her growth, a way to quietly affirm her journey without seeking validation. Her friends were surprised when she mentioned her plans. Some cautioned her against stirring up old emotions, while others admired her confidence and composure. She listened to their advice but made her own decision. She understood that her presence at the gala would not be about spectacle. It would be about embracing her new life fully, stepping into spaces she chose, and showing that independence could be both dignified and powerful. As the day of preparation for the gala approached, she reflected on her journey. She remembered the moments of doubt, the nights of uncertainty, and the early days of rebuilding her life. Each step, each choice, had led her to a place of quiet strength and self-assurance. She had learned that true empowerment comes not from taking what is offered, but from creating a life that aligns with one's values and aspirations. The gala was merely another stage where she could express that independence, not through words or confrontation, but through presence and poise. In her mind, she envisioned herself walking into the gala with calm confidence, fully aware of the contrast between expectations and reality. She did not seek to impress, to compete, or to reclaim anything from the past. She simply intended to show that she was thriving, whole, and unshakably herself. This mindset carried her through the preparations, infusing each step with purpose and anticipation rather than anxiety. As part 2 of her story closes, she stands on the threshold of a new chapter. Her life after the divorce has been one of discovery, growth, and empowerment. She has cultivated independence, nurtured meaningful relationships, embraced her passions, and built a life that reflects her values. The gala represents an opportunity to quietly demonstrate the strength she has developed and the confidence she now carries. She is ready to step forward, not as a reflection of her past, but as a testament to her own journey and the power of choosing oneself in the face of life's challenges. She had been hearing about the gala for weeks. Invitations, rumors, and social chatter all pointed to the same event. A night of glamour, power, and visibility. Most people in her circle assumed she would avoid it. After all, it was her ex-husband's event, a place that might stir old memories and emotions. But she had long learned to approach life on her own terms. Attending the gala was not about confrontation or showing off. It was about making a quiet statement of confidence, independence, and self-assuredness. The idea gave her a sense of excitement she had not felt in a long time. She began planning meticulously. Every detail mattered, not because she wanted to impress others, but because she wanted to feel fully herself. She considered her attire carefully, choosing an outfit that was elegant yet understated, one that reflected her taste and personality rather than the expectations of others. Accessories were minimal, her hair and makeup natural yet refined. She wanted the aura of confidence to shine through without relying on extravagance. Each choice was a reflection of the woman she had become, a silent declaration that she had emerged stronger from the challenges of the past. Travel arrangements were next. She opted for a private jet, not for show, but for convenience, safety, and privacy. It symbolized her self-sufficiency, a practical decision that allowed her to arrive comfortably and calmly. As the day of the gala approached, she felt a mixture of anticipation and calm resolve. She reflected on her journey, remembering the moments of struggle, growth, and newfound freedom. Each memory reminded her why she had chosen this path and reinforced her belief in her own strength. Her friends were both curious and supportive. Some marveled at her decision, admiring the courage it took to step into a space that might have once felt intimidating. Others worried about her emotional well-being, cautioning her to stay prepared for unexpected reactions or uncomfortable encounters. She listened carefully, absorbing their perspectives but ultimately making her own choices. She had learned that while advice could guide her, the final decisions had to align with her values and intentions. In the days leading up to the gala, she maintained her usual routines. She continued her work, her creative projects, and her personal pursuits. She did not allow the gala to overshadow her life. Instead, she integrated it as a part of her ongoing journey. Each day she walked with quiet confidence, reminding herself that her presence would speak for itself. She did not need to make a spectacle. The mere act of showing up on her own terms was enough to communicate her independence and resilience. Preparation involved more than just appearance. She thought deeply about her mindset, ensuring she would remain composed and self-assured throughout the evening. She practiced calm breathing, reflection, and mental visualization, imagining herself walking into the gala with grace and poise. She considered potential interactions, planning to engage with others respectfully and authentically, without falling into old patterns of seeking approval or validation. This mental preparation became as important as her physical appearance, reinforcing the inner strength that defined her journey. She also reflected on the impact her presence might have. Some would notice and be surprised by her confidence. Others might gossip or speculate about her motives. She understood this was inevitable, but she refused to let external perceptions dictate her actions. Her focus remained on herself, on the values she held, and on the life she was building. By staying centered, she ensured that the gala would be a space for her to express her growth and independence rather than a place of anxiety or comparison. As the evening approached, she considered the symbolism of her attendance. It was not about competition, revenge, or drawing attention to the past. Instead, it was about celebrating her own resilience, honoring the path she had walked, and demonstrating that strength and independence could shine quietly and powerfully. This realization brought a sense of clarity and calm excitement. She knew that the night would be memorable, not because of external recognition, but because it marked a milestone in her journey of self-discovery and empowerment. On the day of the gala, she organized everything with care. Her outfit was perfectly chosen. Her hair and makeup enhanced her natural elegance, and she carried herself with the quiet confidence that had become second nature. She packed her essentials, ensuring she had everything she needed without overburdening herself. Every decision was intentional, reflecting her thoughtful approach to life and her commitment to authenticity. She did not feel the need to impress anyone. She simply wanted to be fully present in her own power. As she boarded the private jet, she felt a mixture of anticipation and serenity. The journey ahead was not just physical. It was symbolic of the distance she had traveled in her personal growth. Each mile brought her closer to a moment where she would quietly assert her independence, demonstrate her resilience, and reflect the strength she had cultivated since the divorce. She gazed out of the window as the plane ascended, feeling a sense of liberation that was both exhilarating and grounding. During the flight, she allowed herself to reflect on her journey. She thought about the struggles she had faced, the lessons she had learned, and the transformation she had undergone. There was pride in acknowledging her growth, but no arrogance. She recognized that her strength was born from persistence, reflection, and intentional choices rather than from comparison or competition. This understanding gave her a sense of peace and confidence that no external event could shake. She also considered the people she might encounter at the gala. While some interactions might be challenging, she felt prepared to engage authentically, with respect for herself and others. She reminded herself that her presence alone was a statement of self-sufficiency, and that she did not need to justify or explain her choices. This mindset allowed her to approach the evening with ease, knowing that her composure and authenticity would speak more powerfully than words, or actions designed to impress. Upon landing, she felt a surge of calm excitement. She was entering a space where expectations would meet reality, where assumptions about her could be challenged silently. She walked from the jet with deliberate poise, aware that every step reflected the independence she had nurtured. The quiet confidence she carried was palpable, a subtle force that drew attention without seeking it. She did not need to announce her arrival. Her presence alone was sufficient to convey the journey she had undertaken and the woman she had become. Her friends, who had accompanied her in spirit if not physically, had anticipated this moment with curiosity and admiration. They knew she would enter with grace, but even they were struck by the quiet power she exuded. She was not loud or flamboyant, but there was an unmistakable aura of self-assurance that made others take notice. This was not about vanity or spectacle. It was a reflection of the internal transformation she had achieved over months of intentional growth and self-discovery. As she approached the gala entrance, she noticed subtle reactions from attendees. Some whispered, some looked surprised, and some simply observed quietly. She did not allow these reactions to affect her. She moved forward with steady confidence, fully aware of the difference between external perception and internal truth. She understood that her presence challenged assumptions, and that this was a reflection of the authenticity and strength she had cultivated. The reactions of others were secondary to her own experience and intention. Inside the gala, she found a space filled with elegance and energy. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and the atmosphere was vibrant. She navigated the room with ease, engaging in dialogue when appropriate and observing when necessary. Her confidence was not about dominating attention, but about existing fully in the space without compromise. People noticed her composure and grace, realizing that she carried herself with dignity and independence rather than seeking validation from the crowd. Throughout the evening, she maintained a sense of balance. She allowed herself to enjoy the event, to appreciate the ambience, and to connect with others without losing sight of her purpose. She did not seek to compete or prove anything. She simply existed as a testament to resilience, self-respect, and growth. Each interaction reinforced her understanding that strength was quiet yet powerful, visible not through extravagance but through authenticity and composure. As the night progressed, she reflected on how far she had come. The woman walking through the gala was not defined by the past, by wealth, or by others' expectations. She was defined by her choices, her independence, and the intentional life she had built. The gala, once potentially intimidating, became a stage for her to quietly assert her presence, to honor her journey, and to demonstrate the power of living authentically. This realization brought a sense of fulfillment that was deeper than any external recognition could provide. By the end of the evening, she had made her mark not through spectacle or confrontation, but through subtlety, grace, and confidence. People who had underestimated her before now saw her in a new light. She had not arrived to compete, to impress, or to reclaim anything from the past. She had arrived as a fully realized woman, independent, confident, and self-assured. The impact of her presence was felt quietly but profoundly, a reflection of the journey she had undertaken and the strength she had cultivated. As Part 3 closes, she steps away from the gala with the knowledge that her journey of growth and independence is ongoing. The evening served as a milestone, a moment to reflect on her transformation and the power of choosing oneself. She has demonstrated that true strength comes not from possessions or external validation, but from authenticity, resilience, and the courage to live life on one's own terms. The gala was not the destination, but a marker of the journey she continues to walk with confidence, dignity, and purpose. The night had finally arrived, and the city glittered with lights as she approached the gala. She stepped from her private jet with an air of calm confidence, each movement deliberate and elegant. The cool evening breeze brushed her face, reminding her of the journey she had undertaken. She felt no fear, no anxiety, only the quiet assurance that she was exactly where she belonged. Her decision to attend had not been about confronting anyone or proving anything. It was about stepping fully into her own life and demonstrating, through presence alone, the woman she had become. As she entered the venue, she was immediately aware of the reactions around her. People paused mid-conversation, turned their heads, and exchanged whispers. Some looked surprised, others curious. She did not seek their approval, yet she noticed the subtle shift in the atmosphere. Her presence carried weight, not through ostentation, but through the quiet confidence and dignity she radiated. She walked through the grand hall with poise, acknowledging familiar faces politely, but not letting any expectations define her actions. Every step reinforced the independence she had cultivated, the strength that had carried her through the challenges of the past months. Her ex-husband, in the midst of hosting his gala, finally saw her from across the room. There was a flicker of surprise in his eyes, a momentary pause as he processed the sight of the woman he had once underestimated. He had expected hesitation, discomfort, maybe even regret. What he saw instead was someone transformed, calm, composed, and undeniably self-assured. She did not rush to his side, nor did she make a scene. Her confidence was quiet yet unmistakable, and it spoke louder than any words or gestures could. He realized, perhaps for the first time, that she had found power in independence rather than confrontation. The gala continued around her, but she moved with a sense of ease and clarity. Conversations flowed naturally, and she engaged when appropriate, offering insights and listening attentively. People noticed her grace, her ability to navigate the room without pretense, and her quiet strength. She did not dominate the space. Instead, she allowed her presence to be felt in subtle, meaningful ways. Each interaction, each glance, each smile reinforced the narrative of resilience and self-possession she had been crafting since the divorce. Observers could not help but compare the woman she was now to the one they had known before. She was not seeking revenge or attempting to reclaim attention. She was simply thriving in her own right. The contrast was striking, and it became evident that true transformation comes not from wealth or status, but from personal growth, self-respect, and the courage to live authentically. The whispers and glances, rather than unsettling her, only affirmed that she had stepped beyond the shadows of her past and into a life defined by her choices. She found a quiet corner for a moment of reflection. The room was filled with laughter, music, and the hum of conversation, yet she felt centered and composed. She thought about the months since her divorce, the moments of doubt, the small victories, the rebuilding of confidence and independence. Each memory brought a sense of gratitude and pride. She realized that attending the gala was more than a social event. It was a milestone, a marker of the journey she had undertaken and the person she had become. Her interactions with colleagues, friends, and acquaintances were marked by authenticity. She spoke with clarity and listened with intention. There was no need to prove herself, no desire to impress or compete. Her demeanor was grounded in the self-assuredness she had cultivated, and it became evident to those around her that she was a woman who had found strength in her choices and in the life she was building independently. This quiet power drew respect, admiration, and a subtle influence that left an impression on everyone she met. At one point, she encountered a group of people discussing the event, unaware of her presence. She could hear their surprise at her attendance, their speculation about motives, and their whispers about her transformation. She smiled softly, knowing that their perceptions mattered little. She had not arrived to satisfy anyone's curiosity. She had arrived to honor her journey, to embrace her growth, and to demonstrate that independence and confidence could shine without the need for external validation. Her presence was a statement in itself, subtle but undeniable. As the night progressed, she observed her ex-husband from a distance. He moved among guests, hosting conversations and maintaining the role expected of him. She noticed a change in his demeanor. There was a sense of curiosity, perhaps even a hint of respect, in the way he glanced her way. He could see the difference clearly now. She was not defined by the past, by possessions, or by his expectations. She had claimed her life fully, and the strength she radiated was something he could neither diminish nor control. The realization seemed to resonate quietly within the room, a testament to the power of self-assured independence. She navigated the remainder of the evening with grace, moving between conversations and moments of quiet observation. She noticed details others overlooked, the subtle gestures, the tone of voice, the unspoken dynamics that often went unnoticed. Her awareness and composure allowed her to engage meaningfully without being drawn into unnecessary drama. She understood that true influence comes from presence, empathy, and clarity, not from asserting dominance or seeking attention. Each interaction reinforced her own sense of agency and the quiet authority she carried. There were moments of recognition, when individuals who had known her previously approached with surprise and admiration. They commented on the transformation they saw, the composure, and the quiet confidence that now defined her. She acknowledged their remarks with gratitude and humility, never seeking to highlight her journey, but simply allowing the acknowledgement to exist. These moments reinforced the idea that growth is most impactful when it is authentic, and that the presence of a confident, self-assured individual can leave a lasting impression without a single word of boastfulness. She also reflected inwardly on her own emotional state. Despite the potential for discomfort, she felt no need for confrontation or validation from her ex-husband. She was at peace with her choices, proud of the independence she had cultivated, and confident in her ability to navigate any situation. This inner calm was her true strength, and it was evident in the way she carried herself, interacted with others, and observed the room. The gala, while an external event, became a mirror reflecting the internal journey she had undertaken over the past months. Her presence quietly shifted the energy in the room. People who might have underestimated her before began to notice the subtle authority she carried. She did not demand attention. It came naturally through her poise, confidence, and the quiet power of her authenticity. Each glance, each interaction, each moment of engagement reinforced the narrative that independence, self-respect, and inner strength are often more powerful than wealth, status, or influence imposed by others. Towards the end of the evening, she allowed herself a moment to step back and observe the impact she had made. The room was still vibrant with conversation and movement, yet there was a palpable recognition of her presence. She did not seek acknowledgement, yet it came organically, a testament to the respect and admiration she had quietly earned. She realized that her journey of self-discovery and empowerment had culminated in this subtle, yet powerful demonstration of strength, grace, and authenticity. As she prepared to leave, she felt a sense of fulfillment and clarity. The gala had been more than a social event. It had been a reflection of her journey, a stage upon which her growth and independence could be quietly witnessed. She had demonstrated, without words or confrontation, that true empowerment comes from embracing one's own path, making intentional choices, and cultivating confidence from within. The evening had validated not her external appearance, but the internal transformation she had achieved. She departed the gala with calm dignity, aware of the subtle impressions she had left behind. People who had underestimated her now recognized the quiet power she possessed. Her ex-husband, observing from a distance, could see clearly that she had moved beyond the expectations and limitations of their shared past. She had arrived with nothing to prove and left with a presence that spoke volumes. Her strength was not in spectacle or confrontation, but in the authenticity, confidence, and independence she embodied. Walking away into the night, she reflected on the evening and the journey that had brought her there. The gala had been a milestone, a marker of personal growth, and a demonstration of the quiet authority that comes from choosing oneself. She understood that true empowerment is not dependent on external validation, but on the inner strength cultivated through resilience, intentional choices, and self-respect. Her journey was ongoing, and the gala was but one chapter in a life defined by authenticity and independence. As part 4 closes, she moves forward with the knowledge that she has not only survived but thrived. The evening served as a testament to her transformation, a celebration of the independence and confidence she had nurtured. She had demonstrated that true power comes not from possessions or status, but from self-belief, resilience, and the courage to live life on one's own terms. She steps into the next chapter of her life with calm assurance, ready to continue her journey with dignity, grace, and unwavering confidence. The night after the gala, she sat quietly in her apartment, reflecting on the evening and the journey that had led her there. The experience had been more profound than she initially imagined. She realized that attending the gala had not been about her ex-husband or the social setting at all. It had been about celebrating the woman she had become. It was a confirmation of her growth, resilience, and the independence she had nurtured over months of self-discovery. Every detail of her life since the divorce, the choices, the challenges, the small victories, culminated in that quiet yet powerful presence she had carried through the gala. She thought about the reactions she had noticed, the subtle looks of surprise, admiration, and even curiosity from those around her. None of these had surprised her. She understood that people often measure others by past assumptions, but her life no longer fit into anyone's expectations. She had learned that true confidence does not rely on validation from others. Her satisfaction came from within, from knowing that she had built a life defined by her values and choices. The gala had simply made visible the internal strength she had cultivated. In the days that followed, friends and acquaintances commented on her presence at the event. Some were genuinely impressed by the calm authority she had shown. Others were curious about how she had carried herself so effortlessly. She did not seek to elaborate or explain. The story of her journey was hers alone. She understood that true empowerment often speaks for itself and does not need words to justify it. Her experience had reaffirmed a principle she had long held. Independence and self-respect are far more powerful than wealth, possessions, or social standing. She also noticed changes in her ex-husband's behavior. While he maintained his usual composure in public, there were moments when he seemed to reflect on her presence and the quiet impact she had made. He could no longer see her merely as someone tied to his past or defined by the divorce. Instead, he glimpsed the autonomy, resilience, and dignity she carried naturally. It was a realization that could not be diminished, a subtle acknowledgement of the power she had discovered within herself. She felt no triumph in this. It was simply an observation that underscored the distance she had traveled on her own journey. Her personal life continued to evolve in meaningful ways. She maintained her routines, nurturing her passions, exploring new opportunities, and deepening her understanding of herself. Each day was an affirmation of the choices she had made and the independence she had cultivated. The gala had been a momentary reflection, but her life extended far beyond a single evening. She focused on long-term growth, both personally and professionally, ensuring that her life remained aligned with her values and aspirations. She began to see the subtle ways her journey influenced those around her. Friends who had supported her during the divorce shared stories of how her confidence and independence inspired them. Colleagues who had observed her growth sought her advice and perspective. Even acquaintances who had once doubted her resilience now treated her with respect and consideration. She understood that her example was not about seeking admiration, but about demonstrating what could be achieved when one chooses oneself over expectations or societal pressure. Her life had become a testament to the quiet power of intentional living. Financially, she continued to manage her independence with care and wisdom. She invested in her future thoughtfully, avoiding unnecessary risks while ensuring that she could sustain the life she had built. Money was no longer a symbol of power or status. It was a tool that supported her freedom, creativity, and autonomy. She took pleasure in her financial decisions, not for display or recognition, but for the confidence and security they provided. This financial stability further reinforced her sense of self-reliance and control over her own path. Her social interactions also reflected the growth she had experienced. She engaged with people authentically, offering empathy, insight, and respect. She did not tolerate negativity, judgment, or manipulation, and she carefully chose the company she kept. Her relationships became more meaningful because they were based on genuine connection rather than obligation or convenience. Each interaction was an opportunity to practice the lessons she had learned about balance, boundaries, and the power of presence. Travel and exploration remained an essential part of her life. She sought out experiences that enriched her perspective, expanded her knowledge, and offered moments of personal reflection. Whether walking through a quiet park, exploring a bustling market, or attending an art exhibit, she found joy in discovering new facets of the world and, through them, new facets of herself. These experiences strengthened her sense of independence and reinforced her understanding that happiness is cultivated through active engagement with life, not through reliance on others or external validation. Creativity continued to play a central role in her life. She wrote, painted, or engaged in other forms of artistic expression, allowing herself to explore ideas, emotions, and perspectives freely. These creative pursuits were not intended for anyone else's approval. They were a reflection of her inner growth and personal satisfaction. Each creation, whether small or significant, reinforced her sense of identity and her confidence in her ability to live authentically. She recognized that creativity was both a refuge and a source of empowerment, a way to engage fully with the life she had chosen. As she reflected on her journey, she acknowledged the moments of vulnerability she had experienced. Loneliness, doubt, and uncertainty had been present, but she had learned to navigate them without letting them define her. She discovered that strength is not the absence of fear or difficulty, but the ability to move forward with intention and grace despite them. This realization became a cornerstone of her continued growth, shaping her interactions, decisions, and sense of self. She had built a resilience that was not flashy or loud, but profoundly effective and empowering. Her ex-husband's company and social circles continued to operate around her, yet she no longer felt tethered to them. She could observe without judgment, interact without compromise, and exist without expectation. The gala had served as a momentary intersection of past and present, but her life extended far beyond any single event. She recognized that true independence means being present in one's own life fully, without the need for external approval or recognition. This understanding gave her a sense of freedom that was deeply satisfying and enduring. In conversations with friends and new acquaintances, she found herself sharing insights not about wealth or status, but about resilience, personal growth, and intentional living. People were drawn to her perspective, not because it was flashy or sensational, but because it was grounded, authentic, and relatable. Her experiences had become a source of inspiration, demonstrating that empowerment is cultivated through choices, self-respect, and the courage to embrace one's own journey. She found fulfillment in this impact, understanding that influence can be subtle yet meaningful when rooted in authenticity. Even ordinary moments became opportunities for reflection and growth. A quiet walk through the city, a shared meal with friends, or a moment spent reading or writing offered time to consolidate her experiences and insights. She understood that life's significance often resides in these small, deliberate moments rather than in grand gestures or achievements. Her ability to find meaning in the ordinary reinforced her sense of independence and the satisfaction derived from living intentionally. She also became aware of the broader implications of her journey. By choosing herself and embracing independence, she demonstrated a path for others who might feel trapped by expectation, circumstance, or past relationships. Her story, while deeply personal, carried universal lessons about self-respect, resilience, and the power of authentic living. She recognized the responsibility and opportunity inherent in this realization, not to preach or instruct, but simply to model what was possible through deliberate choices and self-awareness. As time passed, she reflected on the subtle ways in which she had transformed. Confidence was no longer tentative. It was a natural extension of her identity. Independence was not a defensive posture but a lived reality. She navigated challenges with grace, celebrated successes with humility, and embraced opportunities with discernment. Each step of her journey reinforced the understanding that the life she was building was hers entirely, and that its value lay not in external validation but in the alignment of her choices with her values and aspirations. Her ex-husband, observing from afar, could not ignore the impact she had made. He saw clearly that she had moved beyond the past, beyond expectations, and beyond any need for approval from him or others. While he maintained his own life and responsibilities, there was a subtle acknowledgement of her growth that he could neither diminish nor fully comprehend. She felt no need to engage directly. The recognition existed quietly, a testament to the power of her presence and the independence she had cultivated. Friends continued to witness her journey with admiration, noting the consistency, calmness, and authenticity she displayed. They appreciated her willingness to embrace growth, to face challenges without fear, and to live in alignment with her values. Her story became a quiet source of inspiration, demonstrating that true empowerment is cultivated through intention, resilience, and self-respect. She understood that the most profound transformations often occur away from the spotlight, in the deliberate and thoughtful choices one makes every day. As Part 5 closes, she stands as a woman transformed, not defined by past relationships or societal expectations, but by her choices, her independence, and the life she has intentionally created. The gala was a milestone, a moment that reflected her journey, but her growth extends far beyond any single event. She continues to embrace life fully, with confidence, grace, and authenticity, understanding that true empowerment comes from living in it.